Thank you all for joining us. We'll get started in just a few minutes.
Everybody's phone is muted.
Thank you for joining us today. We'll get started in just a moment. Thank you all for joining us for today's presentation of CFP Board Certificant Connections. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. If you experience any issues with your audio, please check your Zoom and computer audio settings. Exiting and re-entering the Zoom link can also help to resolve issues. We'll address as many questions as possible during a Q&A session at the end of the program, but feel free to submit your questions throughout. Please submit those questions through the Q&A function in Zoom. And now I'll turn it over to CFP Board CEO Kevin Keller.
Lynn, thank you so much, and thank you all for joining us today. I'm here with Liz Miller and Terri Kallsen, just ahead of our November board meeting. Liz is CFP Board's 2025 Chair of the Board of Directors. She's also president and founder of Summit Place Financial Advisors out of Summit, New Jersey. Liz earned her CFP certification in 2008, and she's served on our board of directors since 2020. Terri Kallsen is CFP Board's 2025 chair-elect. She'll be chair of the board next year. She's senior operating partner at Rise Growth, where she leads strategic plans for minority investments in RIAs. Terri earned her CFP certification in 2006, and she's been on our board since 2022. Today, we'll talk about the growth of the financial planning profession and trends that are shaping our work. We'll share the latest CFP Board research and resources, and we'll discuss the proposed changes to the requirements for CFP certification. We'll touch on CFP Board's upcoming leadership transition, and the best part of all, we really want to hear from you. A number of you have already written in, but if you will have time for Q&A, so use the Q&A function here. So Liz, let's start with where the profession stands today.
Thank you, Kevin, and thanks everyone for being here. Now, this summer, more people sat for the July CFP exam than any July exam in history. And today we stand at a little over 106,000 professionals in the US. Now, that growth means that more Americans have access to competent, ethical financial advice. But it also reinforces the relevance of CFP professionals and the visibility of the certification. We know this profession continues to evolve rapidly. Today, we're being shaped by changing client needs, shifting wealth demographics, and of course, rapid advances in technology. And what I want to do is just share with you a few of the programs we at CFP Board have been pursuing to evolve with those changes and support our certificants. First, over the last decade, you've probably heard me say throughout this year that the number of CFP female professionals has grown nearly 50%. And last year's class is the most diverse in our history, but women still represent less than 24% of CFP professionals. So this year we launched the Accelerate and Win. This is a new initiative coming out of what has been 10 years of commitment with our WIN Council to advance the growth, influence, and leadership of women in the industry. Through this program, we've been developing new resources, highlighting best practices, and building partnerships that champion women's leadership and advancement to invite even more women into the profession. In February, we released the Building Wealth Insights on women's aspirations and growing financial power. This was our first piece of research this year that made the business case for why we need to be focusing more on attracting more women to the industry. And some of the top findings from this was that even today, 2/3 of households, the investment decisions are made by women. And over half of the households today report that women and men or women and their partner are making an equal amount in income or women are making more. So appealing to them, talking about them, hearing what's important to them in an advisor is more important than ever. Then just a few weeks ago, we released our second big piece of research for the year, Advancing Women in Financial Planning. Now, this report is a follow-up to an equally big piece of research we did over a decade ago that mostly concluded the number of barriers out there to women being successful in this industry and what we needed to address. 10 years later, we find that we were able to identify different paths, different practices that universities, professionals, firms all together can do to make a difference. We also found that many of the characteristics of the profession are exactly what draws women to this profession. And we can use this research to build more attractiveness, bringing women in. This profession has the ability to make a tangible difference in people's lives, to have a role and a career with purpose, and financial flexibility. All things that women report are high priorities when they're looking at a career. The findings of both of these reports have sparked incredible dialogue across the profession. Recently, we hosted a webinar featuring 4 accomplished CFP professionals who shared how they've built thriving practices, balanced careers and life priorities, and opened doors for others. You can access this and hear the replay at this QR code on the screen. And this is just the beginning. Accelerate and Win will continue bringing together leaders, educators, and firms to turn these insights into action and change for our profession. One of the most exciting areas shaping our future, and perhaps even stressing some of us, is the speed and evolution of artificial intelligence. AI is reshaping how we analyze data, communicate with clients, and even personalize advice. But technology alone isn't the full story. It's how we integrate it responsibly, with ethics and empathy at the core. That's why this summer we brought together the AI Working Group, a broad group of experts from across and beyond our profession. Together, they started and will continue to help us explore how AI can enhance, not replace, human expertise. Their work is looking at real-world applications, streamlining workflows, improving efficiency, and helping CFP professionals deliver deeper, more meaningful client experiences. The goal is to provide strategic, actionable guidance that helps CFP professionals harness technology, expand access, and strengthen trust in every client relationship. Now, in September, we hosted a webinar, Changing the Future, How AI is Shaping Financial Planning, featuring members from the AI Working Group and our Chief Operating Officer, Dane Snowden. We had over 1,300 people participate in this webinar. And that conversation examined our AI readiness across firms It explored some practical use cases and also looked at the ethical and regulatory considerations that we all need to be thinking about as we shape adoption in the years ahead. Again, we've got a QR code here on the screen if you want to access that full discussion. Now, later this year, the CFP board is going to publish a full report of the AI working group's contribution so far. And it offers a roadmap for how the profession can embrace innovation while staying true to human connections and thinking through the guardrails to maintain the ethics and integrity that we need when using AI. As innovation drives our profession forward, new legislation will be changing the financial landscape for our clients. Terri's going to take us through what that means for the CFP professional.
Thanks so much, Liz, and it's great to be with you both here today, Kevin and Liz. In July, Congress passed legislation that includes sweeping changes that impact financial planning. These changes affect everything from tax strategy, education savings, to charitable giving, areas that directly shape how we as CFP professionals help our clients plan for their futures. The CFP Board recently released a key elements document outlining the law's most significant changes, planning opportunities, and considerations for CFP professionals. We're really excited because we're hosting a webinar next week to explore the implications in much greater depth. And we're very grateful for the session who will feature David Peters, CFP, Colleen Carcone, CFP, and CFP Board Managing Director of Professional Practice, Jolly Chin. You can register using the QR code on your screen right now. Another very exciting resource that we have just recently introduced is the CFP Board's Divorce Guide. This guide helps CFP professionals recognize and manage some of the conflicts of interest that can arise when working with married or separating clients while staying true to our code of ethics and our standards of conduct. Divorce and separation are some of the most emotionally charged financial situations our clients face. The guide offers practical tools to help CFP professionals navigate those conversations with clarity as well as care. It is part of our CFP Board's ongoing effort to make our standards not just principles on paper, but very real, applicable guidance that supports ethical, client-centered practice in every possible situation. And again, you can download the divorce guide at cfp.net, divorce guide, or just visit the QR code on your screen. Another exciting development is this summer, the CFP Board released our latest 2025 compensation study. The study compares salaries, benefits, and job satisfaction of CFP professionals compared with other financial planners. Kevin, I think I've heard you say in the past, this is the show me the money guide. The headline is CFP professionals earn 13% more than other financial planners and experience higher levels of satisfaction. Median total compensation for all financial planners was $185,000. Supervisory roles and the employer's business channel also play into that compensation variance. The research also covers financial benefits. It highlights the lifestyle benefits of a CFP professional, enjoying including remote work and, in some cases, unlimited PTO. That sounds like a good one to me. The findings underscore the benefits of a career in financial planning, and in particular of the CFP certification. And I can just say personally, since I have had my CFP since 2006, which seems like a long time ago, it has been one of the best decisions I ever made in my career in wealth management. So if you would like to see this report, it's available on cfp.net. And again, the QR code on your screen will take you directly there. And CFP professionals can also access a very special version of the compensation study with even more detailed data. With our eyes on the future, let's turn now to CFP Board's leadership transition. And, back in February, the CFP Board shared that Kevin Keller plans to retire next year. And Kevin, we'll miss you very much because you've left a remarkable legacy of the last 20 years and really leading and steering the ship in the right direction. And we're all grateful for that. But as of course, because we're all planners, we have to have a succession plan ready to go. So we formed a search committee earlier this year. The full board, the full CFP board built alignment on the success factors for the for the next CEO. And we had the board get involved, we had key stakeholders get involved to really say, what is it that we want in this position? In July, we announced that we retained the executive recruitment firm Spencer Stewart that is assisting us with the search today. And because of the strong foundation Kevin and the team have built, we're in a very good position of strength. We're ready to build on the legacy of the transformation and the growth and all the great work that the teams at the CFP Board have accomplished. So Kevin, now I'll turn it over to you so you can talk us through our competency standards.
Terri, thank you so much, and thank you for the kind words. Back in 2023, we launched a full-scale review of our competency standards for CFP certification, covering 3 of the 4 E's. That's education, experience, and exam, plus continuing education. Now, over the years, at least since I've been here, we've had a number of updates in the competency standards. The bachelor's degree requirement was first announced in 2002. The board gave folks 5 years to earn their CFP certification. It actually became effective the year I started in 2007. We've added the capstone course requirement. We've changed the experience requirement to what we now call the apprenticeship experience option, where those folks can earn their experience requirement in 2 years if they meet certain requirements. But this is the first time that we've taken a holistic review of all of the competency standards and looked at them at one time. We brought together a dedicated competency standards commission that spent 18 months looking at what it takes to become and retain a CFP certification. Our goal is to ensure that the competency standards remain modern, relevant, and practical for current and future CFP professionals. We recognize that changes to the competency standards can significantly shape the future of the profession. So last December, the Board of Directors released 9 proposals for public comment. And boy, when you ask CFP professionals for their views, did they respond? We had over 2,000 individual people respond. And collectively, I think we had nearly 10,000 comments on the proposed changes. The board is reviewing that feedback carefully, and we anticipate a final decision to be announced in the next 90 days or so. Growing brand recognition for CFP certification has been a top priority for CFP Board, I think, since I first came back in 2008. We surveyed CFP professionals. It was the top requirement then and remains in our research of CFP professionals today, a leading priority. 14 years ago, based on that feedback directly from CFP professionals, we launched our first ever national public awareness campaign. Now, before that campaign started, unaided awareness of CFP certification was just 17%. That means that only 17% of your most relevant prospects could bring to mind the CFP certification without being prompted. That's why we call it unaided. So there was really a clear need to generate awareness for the profession and for CFP certification among consumers. That's what drove the launch of the campaign, and it's been remarkably effective to date. Now, if you fast forward to today, unaided awareness has more than doubled. This is noteworthy, particularly considering the scale of the campaign's budget, which actually is just a tiny fraction of what banks, brokerages, and insurance companies spend on advertising. Last year, unaided awareness increased 10 points from 34% in 2023 to 44% in 2024, which is another marker for the campaign's effectiveness. Total awareness, meaning those who recognize CFP certification with or without prompting, reached an all-time high of 91%. We've also seen record levels of consumer preference. 89% of consumers in the target market say they would prefer to work with a CFP professional, more than 4 times what it was in 2011. And 90% say they intend to work with one, and that number has more than tripled. So these results show how far we've come. On September 15th, we launched a new commercial that kicked off a fall broadcast window that ran through last week. Here's a sampling of the networks and providers included in the media plan for the fall flight. We also hosted a deep dive webinar into the fall media plan. The QR code here on the screen will take you to that recording if you would like more information. We'll share the commercial in just a few minutes, but I wanted to talk about something else that might be on your minds. A few months ago, when we announced the fall broadcast window, we also shared that the CFP Board certification fee would increase. To fund the campaign's expansion, the board approved a $120 increase to the CFP certification. So the new annual fee of $575 specifically allocates $280 to the direct expenses of the campaign. There's no overhead. It pays for 1 FTE, but it is all focused on promoting CFP certification to the public. You might be wondering, why would we expand the campaign now? And that's because the campaign is our most effective tool to maintain CFP certification's competitive edge in what's becoming an increasingly competitive market. The campaign helps us clearly differentiate CFP certification as the standard in financial planning. It helps keep CFP professionals top of mind during a key decision-making time of year with back to school and people getting ready for the holidays. And it establishes a national mindset around holistic financial planning. So let's take a look at how the campaign has evolved since it launched back in 2011.
Your finances can't manage themselves, but that doesn't mean they won't try. Bring all your finances together with the help of the one person who can, a certified financial planner professional, CFP. Let's make a plan.
Let me talk to you about retirement. 401k is the most sound way to go. Let's talk asset allocation. Sure.
You seem knowledgeable, professional.
Would you trust me as your financial advisor?
I would.
I would indeed.
Well, let's be clear here. I'm actually a DJ.
No way.
I have no financial experience at all.
That really is you.
If they're not a CFP pro, you just don't know. Find a certified financial planner professional who's thoroughly vetted at letsmakeaplan.org. CFP, work with the highest standard.
We've saved our money, and now we get to spend it our way.
But we worry if we have enough to last.
Ellen, our certified financial planner professional, helps us manage our cash flow and plan for the unexpected.
Her experience and training gave us the courage to go for it. It's our Confident Forever plan.
And it's all possible with a CFP professional.
Find your certified financial planner professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Check that. That's pretty good. Yeesh. Not crying, are you? Let's tighten that. Wait, what was that? What? No, don't worry about that. Here we go.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future,
Are you qualified to do this? What?
especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Hey there, Brenda.
It's Carol.
Exactly. So which leg are we operating on?
You mean arm?
It's all connected.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future,
Are you sure you're an orthopedist?
Actually, I'm a Sagittarius.
especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question? Are you a certified financial planner? Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Before we play the current commercial, the one that aired this fall, I do want to put a plug in for the Q&A function. We look forward to answering your questions, so you can use the Q&A function on the Zoom invite. Now, here's the latest commercial that aired this fall.
Another hole? It's all gonna come together. I'm your man.
Asking the right question can greatly impact your future.
Are you really a licensed electrician?
Trust me. Not again.
Especially when it comes to your finances.
Do you have a question?
Are you a certified financial planner?
Yes, I'm a CFP professional.
CFP professionals are committed to acting in your best interest. That's why it's gotta be a CFP. Find your CFP professional at letsmakeaplan.org.
Well, when we play these, everybody has a favorite. Liz, what was your favorite?
It changed over time. I think where we stand today, surgery is my
I
favorite.
still like the doctor. Terri?
I've always enjoyed the bungee jumper, and I love his face at the end. You can't get a better facial expression when he was so relieved to work with a CFP.
Yeah, I think they're all good. I like the DJ, but I like surgery too. I think it's of the modern era, it's certainly the best. So we're at the time where we're to Q&A since since we've had a couple of questions about since we just played the public awareness campaign commercials, there are a couple questions that come in. I'm going to kind of put these together and then I have a thought. So Christian writes, I've been a CFP professional for 8 years. I've never gotten a referral from this site. Somebody else, Rob asks, is lead generation one of the goals of the campaign? If so, it would be very interested to know how many leads. So, and then we also had a question, again, how are dues translated? First of all, lead generation is not the objective. There are a lot of lead generation sites for which I know even advisors in small rural areas pay thousands of dollars a month for that. So that is not, it is a public awareness campaign. The goal is to create and increase awareness and preference for CFP certification. A significant portion of the certification fee, as I said, $280 goes to the public awareness campaign. And as we reported, we've had a dramatic shift in the growth and awareness of CFP certification. So look, when we survey CFP professionals year after year, awareness and maintaining our high standards are the two top priorities, and they are almost equal every year. And the campaign has been our best way of doing that. But Liz or Terri, I mean, I know the board is focused on this. You certainly drill down on the questions for the staff, but I'd love to hear any thoughts you have on the questions here raised by Rob and Christian.
I would just add, Kevin, that, when the board considered the fall flight of the awareness campaign. It was in direct response to still hearing out there all the time. Kevin, you and I have been on the road, throughout the last couple of years, and we always are hearing from CFP certificants that the most important thing is for people to understand what their certification is and to be asking for it. So while the campaign isn't meant to create leads at all, what I do think we hear stories about time and time again is that more leads who come to them are asking, are you certified? And they understand what it is and they're looking for it. And that's the value we want to be bringing to our certificates.
Thank you, Liz. Terri, a question from Norman. Norman asks about doing more pro bono financial planning.
Sure.
If you could respond to.
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you, Norman, for the question about pro bono financial planning. It's really around a desire to give back is one of the things that sets this community apart. And volunteers like you are very, very important to us. The CFP Board is proud to partner with the Foundation for Financial Planning to make pro bono opportunities, training, and resources available to CFP professionals. The foundation hosts a national clearinghouse of opportunities at probonoplannermatch.org, where you can search for any project that fits your interest and availability. And Norman, I personally have gone out there and there are so many various volunteer opportunities for just about anyone that wants to help someone else with their financial plan. The website cfp.net pro bono, you will find additional resources, including guidance and training. CFP Board's pro bono manager, Molly Evans, can also help you get involved. You can reach Molly at mevans@cfpboard.org. Boy, those are some tongue twisters.
Yeah, and there's more information on the website, cfp.net/pro bono. Liz, I'm coming to you next, but I've got a question here that popped up. Samuelson asks, who should I talk to at CFP Board to have a CFP registered program approved in a finance course? And so Jolly Chin is the person to contact at CFP Board. But if you just call in and ask for Jolly, we'll get you to he'll connect you directly to her so that you can find out more about how to do that. We have over 200 colleges and universities that have a CFP Board registered program. Over 130 of them have a baccalaureate program. And so we would welcome the opportunity to talk to you more about adding a program. Liz, Camila asks, how can a senior studying finance and accounting who just discovered financial planning as a career choice be able to catch up, and what's the next best step, do you think?
Oh, thanks, Kevin. Camila, first of all, you are not playing catch up. We're thrilled you've discovered financial planning. It shows that you understand that your analytical and finance skills can be put to use in a career that's really going to give you, not just lots of spreadsheets and output, but a chance to really make a difference and have some impact. And so we're thrilled to hear that you found it. By exploring where you fit in, hopefully we find some opportunities where you can gain some client-facing experience as you start this journey. I would tell you that even with the finance and accounting majors that you have, that you could be looking for entry-level roles as a client service associate, a paraplanner, a planning analyst, or even at any planning type entry level at many planning focused firms. And they will want to talk to you even where you are today. But you could also augment that then with some learning opportunities. You might volunteer for VITA, which is the tax prep opportunity. Maybe there's a campus peer financial coaching program. Be sure to get online and sign up for a monthly newsletter for college students. cfp.net/account registration. That's going to bring you in the loop, help you stay on task, and remind you of the resources that we have. Now, go to our job site for some job listings that might fit you even today. That's at cfp.net/careers. And finally, depending where you are, look around for your local FPA, the Financial Planning Association, or NAPFA event. Both of these membership organizations offer opportunities for students at young professional rates. They'll often let you come to the first meeting or program, sometimes even free. It's a great way to meet some mentors, network, and get a feel for what our profession is about. If you want even more information, I would ask you to reach out directly to our Senior Manager of Workforce, Casey Cobbs. He would be happy to help you. You can reach out to her at kcobbs@cfp.org.
You know, and the other thing I would add to Camilla is that if she has her accounting degree and she sits for the CPA exam and earns the CPA license, she's eligible for the accelerated path. So, you know, much of what she's learning is transferable. And one of the elective exams now in the CPA exam is a tax compliance and accounting exam. So if she's planning to sit for the CPA exam, I would encourage her to do that, study for the tax compliance and accounting version, and she'll be even farther down the path. I have a question here from Angie. She said there needs to be a way to report ethics violations of a CFP colleague anonymously. And so she said, you know, sometimes people are reluctant to do that. Look, we have a way on our website to report anonymous potential violations of our ethical standards. Certificates, or for that matter, anyone can report an anonymous complaint at cfp.net/complaint. The one issue that you should know is, though, that when people file anonymously, you know, it does sometimes limit our ability to investigate, but we have a way to do that. We take that very seriously. Our fees have increased, writes one person, but the card that we issue has decreased in quality. The person says the CFP card should reflect the professionalism of the marks. Please bring back the original card, which, by the way, was plastic. And a lot of people felt really passionately that we were adding to the landfills with the plastic card. So I feel like we're kind of in the middle here. We moved from paper cards in 2021. At that time, we were printing 90,000 cards on plastic. So we went to the more sustainable paper. Look, here's what I would say. I don't see us returning to the plastic cards, but we're looking at how can we perhaps in the digital wallet, in my Apple Wallet or whatever the equivalent is on the other side, so that people like my Metro card and all the other things that folks can have a digital card. So I want to let folks know, I mentioned that Jolly is the person to talk to for CFP Board registered programs. Her contact information is in the chat now. It doesn't look like Jolly, it's CHIA and CHEN, so CHIEN. So her contact information is there now. Let's see, Terry. Nicholas says it would be great to have new continuing education requirements that focus on pertinent and important course refreshers and/or new and/or future laws. Those of us in relationship management, you know, they're looking for relationship management kinds of CEs.
Yeah, great question, Nicholas, and I appreciate the suggestion. Right now, CFP professionals are required to complete 30 hours of continuing education every 2 years, including 2 hours of ethics CE. We approve CE programs across the principal knowledge domains and topics, which include insurance, retirement, tax, estate planning, and more. There are more than 900 CE providers, and many offer the type of technical refreshers you might be looking for. At the very same time, the Board of Directors is reviewing the education and continuing ed requirements to make sure they remain relevant and practical in a position like yours. So a few of the proposals under consideration are increasing the total CE requirement from 30 hours to 40 hours every 2 years, and allowing CFP Board to require CE on specific topics when there are any new laws, new regulations, or any tax changes that may significantly impact the profession. And I just want you to know your feedback also helps inform that work. So we appreciate your suggestions as we continue to evaluate how our requirements can best reflect the work you as a CFP professional do every day, including those in relationship management roles.
CE is a hot topic here. So first of all, you mentioned that the board is looking at changing those requirements. Katie asks, in the next 90 days, how will folks be informed that there'll be a change? There'll be a broad campaign, online, imprint, webinars, so over-the-air webinars, all kinds of things. So we'll do that. Jim asks, I would like you to advocate for an exemption to the IAR CE requirement. That's a big issue. We know that. We're working with the state securities administrators. I have to tell you, I'm not optimistic that that's going to be the case, but we have a good working relationship with NASA, the North American State Securities Administrators Association. So we're working with those folks and trying to see if we can at least get reciprocal treatment, but each state is each state, and there's not a way necessarily to do that. So thank you for those questions. Alan asks, if you are not a practicing CFP because you're a retired CFP professional, but you have less than 20 years of service, again, Alan wants to stay connected to CFP Board. Liz, why don't you take that?
Thanks, Alan. And we're so proud and happy that you value your CFP and that you would like to maintain that designation. We do have a reduced fee option through the CFP Board Emeritus Member Program. But as you do point out, the emeritus status is available to individuals who have held their CFP certification for at least 25 years and are no longer practicing. Emeritus professionals do pay a reduced fee, and they do not have CE requirements. But we do understand there's certificants who retire with fewer than 25 years who would welcome a lower fee option. And so we do regularly review policies like this, and your feedback is an important part of us continuing this discussion. For now, Emeritus is the program we have that allows us to recognize longevity and keeping the certification program strong for the public and for CFP professionals.
Elliot had a very similar question that he just wrote in. Is there a CFP option available for retirees for a reduced fee? Elliot, again, it is our CFP Board Emeritus status of membership. So we would just Google CFP Emeritus status. Let me just look here. Here's a recurring one. We're getting close to the college football playoffs, or CFP for the sports fans. By the way, did I mention I'm an Ohio State grad, and I think they're still #1 in the country.
The
Ohio State. See, you're more obnoxious about it than I am. How does the college football playoff have the authority to use the CFP logo when advertising and communicating the CFP? Look, we get that question a lot because we take very seriously the enforcement of CFP. The issue is, and it's a legal issue, but where we get very concerned is where there's potential that the public might be confused. And so when somebody comes up with something that sounds like CFP and it's a certification or financial planning, or they try to use different, we take that very seriously. We enforce that. We've looked into this. There just isn't a way, Wayne, for us to address that. Please send the recording of this webinar to CFP professionals. This is an excellent information today. Well, that's fine, Michelle. Thank you for that one. We appreciate that. Rosario writes, I've been reached by 2 insurance salesmen to ask me if, quote, getting the CFP is good for business. Obviously, they're pursuing the designation for the wrong reasons. How is CFP Board preventing the wrong people, in Rosario's mind, from using the CFP designation? I mean, I could take, do you want to, I'll take it.
I'm happy to take it.
Why don't you take that one, Liz?
Thanks, Kevin, and thanks, Rosario. We recognize that motivations for pursuing CFP certification certainly vary. Some people are drawn to our profession to help others. Some are drawn by career opportunity. What really matters is that anyone who earns and uses the marks meets the exact same education, exam, experience, and ethics requirements, and commits to the CFP Board Code of Ethics and Standards of Conduct. So therefore, we prevent misuse, and we have a number of ways of doing it. First, of course, those requirements, as everyone who has earned their certification knows, are rigorous. It takes a real commitment to get through the program and pass the exam. Second, we do investigate allegations of misconduct, and we do enforce the proper use of the CFP marks, and we take action when individuals misuse them. So if someone pursues CFP certification solely as a marketing tool, they will encounter a process that demands real competence and a real commitment to an ethical practice. And once they're certified, there will be consequences if they fall short of those standards. And that's how we protect the public. And that's how we protect the value of the marks for someone like you, and potentially even for these insurance salesmen.
Alan writes in OH, which I think the only appropriate response is IO there to my Ohio State comment. Is CFP considering a return to the 6-part exam program? I think the answer is no. That's for those of you who've been around a while. You remember that there was a comprehensive exam. People took exams at the end of each course. That made sure you knew that information, but part of holistic financial planning is understanding how they all work together, and that's the goal of the exam now, is to do that. Terry, Zachary asks, what is the progress on title protection for financial planners?
Thanks for that question, Zachary. It so happens the Board of Directors has studied this issue very, very carefully. And in 2018, the board adopted and later affirmed the policy that CFP Board will not support and will in fact oppose state regulation of financial planners. The goal of title protection is understandable, to protect consumers and elevate the profession, but pursuing it through legislation may bring significant risks. Once you enter the political processes, outcomes can be unpredictable. Competing industry interests have very strong influence, and the cost of regulation can quickly multiply across multiple states. These costs would ultimately be passed on to CFP professionals. And we've also heard extensively from international colleagues who noted that even where title protection exists, enforcement has been very limited. As one of our colleagues put it, you already have title protection in the US. It's called CFP certification, and that continues to remain our view. CFP certification is the standard for competency and ethics in financial planning, and CFP Board's focus is on protecting and promoting that standard nationwide.
Terry, thank you so much. Michael writes in, I love hearing about the focus on brand recognition for clients any plans to expand recognition for employers even beyond the financial planning realm. I don't know necessarily. Do you have a thought on that, either Terri or Liz, expanding for employers? You should know, Michael, that we have a corporate relations team that is calling on financial planning firms and continuing to talk about the value of holistic financial planning and CFP certification. Terri, that you're out talking to RIAs all the time. Any thoughts on that?
Well, certainly it's a very good idea. And the more recognition we can bring to the CFP designation as a provider of ethics and the highest standards of competency, the better off we'll all be. And so I would also say the consumer is now demanding that CFP professional, and these very large organizations are understanding that. And so it's not really a push per se, it's a pull, because consumers, because of the education of many of these campaigns, have become much smarter. And that is where the organizations will continue to pursue the CFP and be recognized as a provider.
I think the other thing is our research shows, and we know if you talk to firm executives, that CFP professionals versus non-CFP certified, have higher clients, and whatever metric that you might use to evaluate advisors, we know that CFP professionals rate higher client satisfaction, lower compliance cost, all of these areas. Liz, any other thoughts on this area?
I guess I would just add, as Terri said, we're out talking to the firms a lot and to the employers out there, particularly the large employers, and we have a very strong relationship there. I would even say I know that Merrill Lynch over the past year put a new program in place to further encourage CFP certification, and that is after building for a long time a great strong relationship with them. So I do think the internal corporate development work we do builds those relationships for employees.
Michael asks, can you explain a little more about how a pro bono element may be added to the CFP recertification requirement? We want to encourage pro bono. About 20% of the CFP community report to us each year that they do some pro bono. I think it's probably higher, really, but there's no talk about a requirement to do pro bono. But Michael, thank you so much for that question. Let's see. Here's a question about, again, aligning CPA continuing education, IAR continuing education. Dane is our Chief Operating Officer and oversees all of the CE and the exam and a number of other areas. It's something that we're talking to, but again, we don't want to just recognize theirs. We want them to recognize ours as well, to make it reciprocal in a way that adds value for ours. And there seems to be a reluctance to make anything reciprocal, but we're aware of it. We know it's an issue, and we continue to focus on it. We have a little, maybe time for one or two more questions. I am going to go. Let's see. We've talked about Angie's question. We've had a few questions on the cost to maintain CFP certification. Doug has talked about this. Clint has mentioned this. Look, here's what I would say, and the board has been involved and supportive along the way. First of all, Doug and Clint, thank you for the questions. These are important, and I appreciate the direct feedback. On the value of the marks, the prestige of CFP certification, I think, rests on two different pillars. One is the rigor of our standards, both the education, the competency standards, as well as the ethical standards. The other pillar is on the awareness of and the preference for CFP certification. And on both fronts, I think we're moving in a positive direction. We've raised the standards over time, including adding a fiduciary standard. At the same time, The community of CFP professionals has grown, and I know some CFP professionals would prefer it not grow, and yet the board has been focused on relevancy. Look, advisors are retiring every day. And in fact, the number of advisors has been flat for the last decade. And so, new advisors are increasingly getting CFP certification. That growth equals relevance, and we continue to focus on that. But the goal is for us to provide value to CFP certificants. And one of the ways we can do that is to continue to make CFP certification better known. Other thoughts, Liz or Terri?
I might just talk a little bit about, renewal. And I understand particularly in a year like this, where we did raise the fee for the campaign, you have some people who are going to think about, is it, do I have my value? But, the vast majority of CFP professionals renew their certification. Those renewal rates are well over 90% in total, and they're remarkably high even for CFP certificants over 65 years old. So that really tells us that we are achieving our goal of delivering value. We are achieving our goal of making more and more people aware and asking for CFP certification. Our responsibility first and foremost is that we keep the program strong for our certificants, and we maintain the integrity, and we be transparent to you about this fee, which we were this year. At an extra $10 a month, we were able to have an incredible media campaign over the entire month of October, right before a lot of your clients are thinking they need year-end help. So we're positive about that, and we hope that you continue to see that.
We're almost out of time. Terri, I'll let any final thoughts you have?
Well, I just want to celebrate the people who've joined us today and those that are going to be taking the exam in November. We're very excited about that. But I want to re-emphasize what I view the value of the CFP as from my standpoint. It's all about credibility and trust, and really making sure that our CFPs remain trustworthy as well as competent. This also opens the doors to many career opportunities, and we've talked about that. And then it gives you the career flexibility that we talked about as well, so that you can continue to grow in your career as a CFP and reach beyond maybe what you may be thinking today. And so I'm excited about the future, and I'll turn it over to Liz.
Liz, this is your last one of these. We've been on the road a lot. We were recently at the FPA conference. We've been at NAPFA. We've been around a lot of places. Your final thoughts?
I'm really proud, as we even shared today, that I think CFP Board continues to sharpen its focus in its support of CFP certificates, in the support of our profession. The things we talked about today are driving forces in the profession, changing demographics, exceedingly fast changes to technology, the need for guidance on divorce and difficult case studies, and how to implement technology with our new checklists. And so I think when you look across all we've done this year, I'm very proud of the support and programs we've put in place to provide future support for current and future CFP professionals.
So with us today, Terri Kallsen, chair-elect of the board, chair of the board next year. Liz Miller finishing 2025. Her term as chair of the board. Thank you both for your leadership, your engagement, and thanks as well to our executive producer for today's webinar. Sitting beside me, helping me sort through questions, is Lynn McNutt. Lynn is Director of Executive and Stakeholder Communication at CFP Board. Before we close, I do want to recognize Liz, your time as chair. Thank you for your exceptional commitment. There are leaders who lead with their head and leaders who lead with their heart. And it's been a joy and a pleasure to work with somebody like you who uses both. and makes the profession of financial planning even more relevant and CFP certification. So thank you all from the CFP Board of Directors meeting location on the West Coast. We appreciate you joining us. And with that, we will say good day.